It's Fernando Ruiz Art.
Hi everybody. Remember Valerie from the Pussycats? I penciled her, I think, a couple weeks ago. And normally I probably would have inked her off camera, but a lot of people really seemed keen on watching Valerie get inked. So that's what we're doing today. Here we are. And actually, Valerie does give me the opportunity, because a lot of times I'm very hesitant about inking, doing another inking video, because I think I've done quite a few of these, so I never know what, I don't want to be redundant and just show myself doing the same thing again. But I also aim to please. And I did put it out there, and people did seem interested in wanting to see Valerie get inked. So I'm all about making everybody happy. So here I am. So what I'm doing now, actually Valerie's tambourines here do give us a little opportunity to cover some new ground here. And so what I'm doing now is I am inking the tambourines first, because the tambourines are a hard object. They are geometric shape. Well, not technically not geometric shapes, but they're not the organic shape that Valerie herself is. So they do require kind of a precise line. So that's why I want to do that first before I get into like the soft shape of the rest of her. So I'm using here an ellipse template, which, as you can see, is a big sheet of plastic with ellipses of all varying sizes. And actually, I'll take a moment to show. I don't know if I've shown these before, but here's my library of ellipse templates. And this is really important to have. And you can see sometimes this happens where they break on you. But it's important to have ellipse templates. And I have them of ellipses, circles. This is probably one of my most widely used ones. It's important to have for exactly what I'm doing here, for this reason. And the more you have, the more of them that you have, the more ellipse situations you're ready for. So the more degrees of ellipses that you can do. Because this is the sort of thing, you don't want to freehand your ellipses. Because, as steady as your hand may be, you do want your mechanical stuff, your furniture, your architecture, your vehicles, that sort of thing. You do want that to be precise, to have kind of a hard edge to it. So I'm doing those first, and we'll see how far we get with Valerie too. I'm not making any promises that we will finish her in this video. But we'll see. We'll go for it. Okay, so I won't do both tambourines too, because I want to make sure we do cover other ground here. And normally I would. Normally I do like to target the hard stuff, the accessories, the musical instruments. Stuff like that, armor, anything that I would want to give a precise line to, I would target first, and ink that, just so that it's not affected by a softer line later. For example, when I go in and I ink her hand, I may. Did I do that? Okay. Once she's all done too. And actually, I may want to go in with and I'm using right now my Faber-Castell Pit Pen. and I use the Pit pen for the tiny little stuff that I don't want my big brush pen to make too thick. So I'm just going in and doing her fingers, inking her fingers. And this is the small size of the Pit pens, and I do not get anything from the Faber-Castell company. I'm just giving you my honest assessment. I don't get any endorsements of any kind. If they want to endorse me, hey, we'll talk. But I'm just telling you what I use. So now I'm switching over to my Pentel brush pen, and I've talked about this before. And I really like to use my brush pen. My brush pen gives me a nice, soft, flexible line. So let's get in a little. And as always, notice I'm turning Valerie any way that I need to in order to ink her. And what I like to do, and I've talked about this before in inking, I like to pull my strokes. I like to put the tool down. Say like this is going to be a fairly sizable line, inking her side here. I like to put my tool down, and I like to pull my hand. And notice, as I did that, I depressed the brush pen a little more to have that line thicken up as I go down. Let me do her butt here. And pull. Get a little thicker at the bottom. And it's good to try and do it all in one stroke, really. Here, I'll do the top of her thigh here. And I get a little thick in the middle there, just to give that line a little bit more of a curve, just to make the line look a little more rounded. And that's really part of what inking is about, is avoiding a real stiff, dead line. And you digital inkers out there, that's one thing I have to warn you guys about. Learn how to tweak your lines. I'm not opposed to digital inking, not religiously like a lot of people are. But I will say one of the pitfalls of digital inking is that everything ends up looking digitally traced. I don't see a lot of nice thick to thin happening with digital inks. And yeah, there's some people who are doing it well, who are doing it right, and great for them. But a lot of the digital inking that I see is it just looks like digital tracing. It just looks like the pencil line is just being darkened, just cleaned up and darkened. And that also just takes a lot of the fun out of the inking too. I like being able to manipulate that line and making it go from thick to thin. Start out thin, push, get thick, and you're left with a nice curve. And sometimes I will go in and I will doctor the line a little, maybe thicken it up a little. There we go. How's that? Good. For the face, now the face I really want to be careful. I don't want to go in with the thick line, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my finer Pilot pen, and I'm going to go in and I'm going to give Valerie her eyelashes. Okay? I'll give her eyebrows too. Why not? Now I could get much finer with this, So that's why it's good for the facial features. I don't know if I could get as fine a line with my Pentel brush pen. So that's why I'm using this one, because it is such a fine point. It does allow me to get in there and do things like give her her upper lip and then go in and, you know, this takes a little bit of a cautious hand. You really don't want to screw up. If you do, however, if there's anything you need to doctor in here, you could always go in. This is my extra small Faber-Castell Pitt pen. And, you know, if you need to thicken up a line or maybe go over a line to take out any unintended shakiness or wavering of the line, you could do that. There you go. There you go. Just like that. A lot of, and I'm sure I've said this before, a lot of inking, most, in fact, about inking is in the practice. You know, a lot of people get frustrated with inking, and that's because they're a little impatient with themselves, and they're not taking into account the fact that control sometimes, you know, you need to work at control. You need to really condition your hand to this different way of moving, because you do move your hand differently when you're inking than when you are drawing. Okay, when you're drawing with a pencil, you're using your hand differently. You're moving you're moving your wrist in these little jerky motions. Whereas when I'm inking, maybe not now because I'm inking Valerie's hair and I don't need to be that exact or precise about it. But for example, those lines that I was doing before, those longer lines on Valerie's body, I have to, you know, I'm locking my wrist into position so I don't do these jerky little strokes. So that can really represent a very different way of moving, of holding your wrist, of moving your wrist for some people. And some people aren't used to that. So that's where the practice comes in. That's where the practice makes all the difference in the world. I mean, I've often said I could probably give you all of the inking theory in an afternoon, but then where you become a good inker is in the practice, is in you sitting down and practicing over and over again, just inking all different types of stuff. And I really recommend don't just ink one favorite penciler of yours. Get as many different pencils as you could get your hands on, Xeroxes, blue lines, and ink away. Just keep practicing, and there's nothing wrong either with with repeating an image. You know, if there's an image that say a drawing of Spider-Man, and you ink it over and over, that's fine. That's totally fine. It's totally fine when you're practicing. You will get better. The more you do this, the more you will improve. So I think that's about it for all the wisdom I have. I am going to do a third part because I do like to do videos on coloring. There's a lot to say about coloring, especially with Val here, because I don't often do. I'm neglectful in this area. I don't often do African American skin, so I think that would be of value for you guys, and I do get asked about that from time to time. So tune in for that. So I hope you guys dug this. Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot for tuning in. As always, if you like this, please click like. And if you have not done so, subscribe. And any comments, questions, put them in the comments below. I do respond. I do respond as often as I possibly can. And if I don't respond, keep asking. Keep hassling me. All right. That's it for me. Thanks a lot, everybody. And I will see you in the next video. Bye-bye.